You know those teen vampire movies?
Yes, sadly, there's a billion of them. Hello, everyone. I am Random42, the one, the only, the original, your favorite YouTube harpy. Yes, we're talking about Bit. I keep calling it Bite. No, it's called Bit. It is a vampire movie, and you know what we're talking about today. I almost wanted to bring out the theme music and the writing. No, it's kind of too ridiculous for that. There's a new vampire movie, and yes, it has a message.
Rule number 1, never turn a man into a vampire.
Oh, really? Why's that?
Men can't handle power.
Oh, and women are better at that? Really? And of course, this article is a doozy. Here we go. It is from vulture.com. Thank you guys so much for sending me this. I had 20 people sending me this. You guys really, really, really wanted me to talk about this one. And you know what? As the B in the alphabet community, let's face it, I still get the, oh, you're just a breeder because you like guys sometimes. Yeah, well, whatever. Doesn't matter. You shouldn't be judging people based on who they do giggity with. Sorry, just gonna say that. And that goes for both sides do here. The unlikely story behind this year's best intersectional feminist vampire movie. Bit, an intersectional feminist vampire movie about an all-female nest of undead who will bleed out boys but under no circumstances allow them to turn into bloodsuckers, flew in under the radar this summer. So this is what, an older article? Yeah, August 19th, 2019. All right, so this is one that we kind of ignored. Well, we ignored that because we were dealing with everything from Star Wars to Star Trek to the Joker to Harley Quinn to all of the things that needed our attention more than some little unknown, low-budget probably vampire movie. That being said, from time to time, I do enjoy a good B-horror movie, especially if it's got some funny comedy and humor to it. I watched the trailer. It looked kind of funny and interesting, except for the whole men and bad message. Again, alright, you can have these strong, empowered female movies without needing to tear down anybody else. Because here's the thing, when you say something in your movie like, oh, men can't handle the power, what, and women can? I'm sorry, because I've dealt with a lot of women also in my day who go just as power crazy as men. So it's not a gender specific thing. It's not a straight versus gay thing. No, it's none of that. And as, like I said, the B in the alphabet, a lot of people still kind of feel that I'm not on that team. Sure, whatever. I don't like being in boxes or being the token thing to check off on your list to just say, okay, now we needed this, and we needed this, and we need another one. Bitch is an intersectional feminist vampire movie about an all-female nest of undead who will bleed out boys but under no circumstance allow them to turn into bloodsuckers because, ooh, you naughty, naughty little men, you.
White male rage, white male rage, white male rage.
Oh, she's so proud of herself, too, in that cringe clip. People don't want messages in their movies where they tear down people. It's fine to come in with this movie like it's a mix of Twilight meets The Craft, where it's kind of where it kind of has a sisterhood message to it and doesn't go around saying men am bad. And this is the funny part. The only way this movie was made is if the straight male writer of this movie decided to throw in a bunch of, I'm so sorry, I'm a terrible person, I don't know what I'm talking about ever, I'm beneath you all, and please guide me. And that's pretty much what this article says. I'll read some of the key moments in here, but oh, this article. This trailer for me, when I looked at the trailer, I went from, oh, the trailer's kind of cute, to reading the article and some of the motives behind it going, no, don't put us all into boxes like this. Don't have us so you have your token diversity representation thing just so you can critic-proof yourself or use that as a way to get a screenplay into Hollywood, because we know that's the trend. It's a current trend. It's no different than having, every movie be a vampire movie one year, or every movie being a disaster movie, or every movie being zombies. It is the same type of thing. Now the current trend is how many people of the alphabet, how many people of diversity and representation can we put in here to check off all these little tick boxes and basically use that as a way to keep it from being criticized on Twitter. Because what's the go-to response? Oh, you're just a phobe, you're just an ist, you're this or that. No, we're not. Maybe you made a cringe movie that looks crap. And this one actually looked kind of funny. a tiny way. It looked kind of cute for about a split second until they went all male bashy. I get it. It's going to be like an updated Lost Boys or an updated sort of, but without being the Lost Boys. Oh, don't get me started on that. That's one of my favorite movies of all time, by the way. That is my favorite movie of all time. It is more of an updated version of something like that, or The Craft, or these kind of teen movies that come out aimed at that sort of demographic of people. That I have no issue with. But when you basically have the screenwriter, director groveling at the interviewers here and the alphabet community, the Twitter community, that's because what are we apologizing for? That's when I have a problem. And that's what it really seems like here. The wry twist on the lesbian vampire genre received a smattering of rave reviews, particularly among the queer audiences. Quote, I have literally never seen a gay meet cute with a trans woman like this on screen ever, one critic wrote. In addition to being a bloody good time, Bit is also a milestone in queer female visibility in the horror genre. The Advocate proclaimed. Most recently, the movie earned honors for its lead performer, Outfest. I don't care. I mean, I'm happy for you that you're comfortable enough in your own skin that you can say this. And I'm glad as a community and as a society that we can be here and be like, yeah, I go this way, I go that way, when it's come into question. But at the same time, I feel a little odd using that. I do feel a little odd when I do have to justify the fact that, yeah, I'm of this community. I can talk about this. And I know a lot of the times people do that so they don't get criticized, so they don't get attacked for it, for saying, oh, well, what do you know? You're just an old white dude.
I do not need a 40-year-old white dude to tell me what didn't work for him about A Wrinkle in Time. It wasn't made for him.
And to kind of play on what Bree said, well, this one kind of was made for me because, yeah, I was at the age back then when I watched The Craft when it came out. Yeah, this did me in the 90s. 95. I'm older than I look. I liked this stuff, and I even went through the phase of the vampire-y goth-looking stuff. Everybody kind of does at some point in their life. You shouldn't have to exclude a straight audience from it, because guess what straight guys like? L's. I know, that's just Batwoman, but still. There's nothing wrong with appreciating the female form. There's nothing wrong with appreciating somebody in that manner. I mean, there's certainly sites completely dedicated to just that, which I do frequent from time to time, not above admitting that. But here we go. This is when you're just specifically trying to pander to one audience to bash another. That is not a great way to go about your entertainment. And let's get into this article a little bit. And they praise the crap out of this movie until they go into the first paragraph where they have to specify, which is no small feat considering the writer and director of Bit is a white, cis, straight man. You're saying that like it's a bad thing. You're saying that like he shouldn't be qualified to write this. You're saying this like he would never be allowed to work or do anything. Like he's beneath you. And I did another take on this, and I jumped to a few conclusions that were actually correct. That this is a working writer in Hollywood who doesn't get a whole lot of jobs because, like I said, he is a white, cis, straight man. And by the way, cis just sounds like sissy. Stop using it. I don't like that. Can we have something a little less condescending for people who, I don't know, they're born a certain way? I mean, we don't want to be judged for one way or another. No reason to judge other people based on how they're born, especially if they're not going out of their way to attack you personally, because let's face it, we don't really get a lot of that. That being said, I did get the F word and not, the giggity one. No, the bad one that's like a British cigarette. Somebody called me that. Me! I've never heard that in my life from somebody before, but hey, takes all kinds. Anyway, let's not just demonize everybody, a group of people, just for how they're born. It's sorry, it goes both ways. A little bit of respect. But I don't know, maybe I'm just an old hippie or something. I mean, I do play the sitar from time to time. We're doing more sitar streams too. But my original thought was, yeah, this is somebody who's working in Hollywood and needs to come in with a script that checks all the diversity boxes so that the studios don't get slammed with all of this negative feedback from people on Twitter, on social media, on wherever, saying, well, why don't you have more this representation and diversity? And Okay, that's fine. Nobody's against representation and diversity. What we are against is coming in and taking a character or a franchise that's already established, coming in and swapping out the lead character to make it a woman, a whatever, and tearing down your existing characters and franchise. You know, we saw that in Star Wars.
You can't stop me, I'm a Jedi from Jakku.
And we see it in Star Trek.
I like science.
And we see this all over the place. So when I initially saw this, I'm like, oh, they went with a movie that isn't just a reboot of something. It's kind of a little bit like The Craft. It's a little like Twilight. It's a little like The Lost Boys. It's a little like all of these things. And they made something new and unique. I was actually willing to give this one a fair shot, and the trailer looked kind of funny until we heard, oh, no, you can't let men have powers because men are jerk. I don't care anymore. On paper, Brad Michael Elmore is not the first name you guessed to be behind the year's buzziest queer-friendly movie, and once you met him and talked to him a few hours, he's still not the person you think of for the job. It gives his credits here, what he likes, where he grew up. Ahead of writing Bit, he said he was just tired of seeing the same kind of heroes over and over again on screen. That I can appreciate. And you know what? He's right. I also get tired of seeing the same characters over and over again on screen. I get tired of every woman on screen talking down to men. I get tired of that. I got tired of that 20 years ago on Home Improvement and Roseanne. I got tired of it then. So imagine how tired I am of it now, and we're still doing it in this day and age. And I also get tired of women characters in movies coming in, or diversity representation characters coming in and replacing an established character, especially in franchises like Star Wars or Star Trek, where we already had representation and diversity. Maybe more so in Star Trek, but hey, that's where my fandom sort of falls a little bit more favorably. Anyway, we already had this stuff, and feeling the need to pat yourself on the back now kind of comes across as disingenuous. And it comes across like you're using us for a diversity checkbox, like to critic-proof, like I keep saying, to critic-proof a movie, to say, oh, no, you're just a phobe. You just are an ist if you don't like this movie or if you have a problem with this. And that's what they jump to immediately if you have any criticism. Like anytime somebody says, like me, Last Jedi wasn't good. Oh, you just don't like people of color and all right, no, I don't like The Last Jedi because it had nothing to do with Star Wars hardly. So he decided to approach his new project with one goal. The story's heroine was going to be trans, and she was going to be played by a trans actress. Fine, good. No problem with that. Elmore gave himself a crash course in gender studies, read up on books from trans authors. All right, so he did his research. He didn't just make it from a male point of view, because let's face it, I tend to sometimes have the more male point of view too on what I like to see on screen. Not a problem with that. They ask him though, so Brad, why an intersectional feminist vampire story? He answers, I'd done 2 movies that had a very somber tone, and I wanted to do something fun. I also knew that genre would get financing. Because at 30-something years old, I want a movie, damn it. I need to prove I can get one of those through. No more little writing gigs that my name doesn't show up on anything like that. I needed this. Yeah, this reminds me of some of the people that I do know who do little punch-ups and things for TV scripts, for things like that. Where, yeah, they will flat out tell you, you're going to get a lot of little gigs, but if you aren't going in with something that the studios want to hear, like their current trend, the current thing that they're on, the current kick they're on, they're not even going to give you the time of day. And unfortunately, the current kick is using people of color, people of the alphabet, women as checkboxes to critic-proof their movie. I know, we've gotten dumb as a society. It's a little ridiculous. The real issue on this article and with this movie is that basically he spends the entire interview apologizing. I am just a straight guy. The article continues, there's a lot of anger in this movie, which is understandable given its focus, and most of that comes through Duke, the leader of the vampires, played by Diana Hooper, who is like our surrogate for anti-patriarchal fury with her no effing boys motto. Is this your anger she's drawing from? Anger you've seen in friends or loved ones? I would say she's pretty much typical of every angry man-hater on Twitter, but hey, and in Hollywood for that matter. But what do I know?
Shut the fuck up.
Sorry, Admiral Hubris, I will. I'm a white, straight dude, but I wasn't put on a socioeconomic level that some others are. I understand that level of unfair, but I've never thought about the other thing. And then, growing up and change, you meet people and listen. I grew up in a small town. I was always hyper aware of the fact that I was being cheated out of what the real world was. I felt like I was stuck somewhere. I was just so aware that the world is weirder and cooler. In the early days of Twitter, a lot of artists I follow were hipping me to different things I never thought about, different types of voices, and now I have no interest in reinforcing my worldview. I just want to hear what the F everybody else has to say. Quit apologizing for who you are. Dude, there's nothing wrong with opening your mind, expanding your horizons. Nothing wrong with that. But you cannot demonize the fact that you grow up a certain way, because what's wrong about it? Nothing. There's nothing wrong with growing up a certain way. Absolutely nothing wrong. Unless your parents were, the Manson family, then maybe you might have an issue. But no, if you're just some guy going around his normal day-to-day life in heterosexual relationships, shut the fuck up. Fine, Admiral Hubris. I will quit rambling. Point is, you don't need to apologize for it. Why would you apologize any more than somebody who grew up knowing that they were gay or whatever? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right? Following the conversations got me interested in feminism, and one of the things that started making me bristle was when people would say stuff like, I don't like radical feminists, or the femina, you-know-whats, which is a popular thing to say back in the aughts. Well, it's still a popular thing to say now, I just don't know if YouTube's going to allow it, and I agree. I do not like that radical version of feminists. I like real, normal people who like bringing each other together and uplifting everybody. And I know I smack some people down and I'm the loud, vocal, whatever, your favorite YouTube harpy. I get it. I get that. As a group of people, though, you can't just assume everybody is a specific way. And when I call out something, I'm calling out the mentality and the behavior and how disrespectful it is to an entire group of people. Or I will call out a specific celebrity for saying something specifically that I really, really strongly disagree with that further reinforces this, where you still have this mentality of, okay, we now can bash an entire group of people, make them beneath us, and rise above them. And anytime you have to tear down a group of people to lift yourselves up, maybe that's the problem. And of course, the rest of the article, he just goes around apologizing for being born a straight white dude. Fine, we get it. You needed to make a movie that would get into Hollywood. You needed to make a movie that would check all the boxes. And in conclusion, you almost had something there. You almost had something that could have been funny. It could have been exactly what we needed. It could have been refreshing. It could have been a vampire representation, trans, lesbian, whatever you want. It could have been that. But you didn't have to go the whole, and now breeders suck. Because I get tired of hearing that. That's really old. And that's part of why I don't really go to any of the community group, anything of that. Because, well, first off, I don't really like being put in boxes, joining groups, anything. I mean, I'll come in and take over and take charge of a group, but I'm not going to be a follower. I like my own critical thinking. I like to make up my own mind on things. And you almost had me on this one until you started male bashing. But hey, because if you look, the opening line is kind of funny.
You know those teen vampire movies that feel like the horny soap opera fever dreams of an 8th grade diary? Here's how mine began.
It's almost funny. That made me chuckle for about a second because it's sort of trashing Twilight, but not really. It's sort of, and I'm not a fan of Twilight. You almost had me. I am Mecha Random 42. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. I'll see you guys later. Bye. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, make sure to hit that like button. And if you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video. Bye!